Assalamu alaikum and welcome to your first module in physics. In today's session, we're going to learn what the word physics actually means, what is it when we say that something is a physical quantity, and how does that relate to everything in the universe. So what do we really mean by anything that is physical? Well, physically usually means something that you can touch. You can extend that to mean anything that you can sense with your five senses. अब हमारे five senses क्या होते हैं? You can taste things with your tongue, you can hear things with your ears, you can see things with your eyes, you can smell things with your nose, and you can touch things with your hands. Everything that can be experienced through at least one of your five senses is something we call physical. So air is physical because even though you can't see it, you can still breathe it in through your nose and you can push it around with your hands and get pushed by air. Sometimes you can smell the air as well. So light, for example, is also something physical because even though you can't touch light, you can see light with your eyes, and at the same time, light is something that, warms you when it's on you. What is something that would not be physical? For an example of something that would not be physical, you can, for example, think about, there's a unicorn in my mind right now. You can't see it, no one can see it, only I can see it, and I can see it because I'm imagining it. It's something that is not physical, it's not out there, it's not something that someone else can objectively experience. So that would be an example of something that is not physical. In physics, we only study things that are physical. That's why it's called physics. So everything in the universe is made up of two kinds of physical things. Either they are made up of mass or they're made up of energy. And in physics, you study a lot of exciting things. You study atoms, you study sound, heat, friction, gravity, magnetism, forces, electricity, light. You study everything that goes kaboom and beyond. You study time travel, you study teleportation, you study why is it that an atomic bomb works? You study what would there be at the center of the Earth? What would gravity be at the center of the Earth? And you study, what happens when you try to cut an atom into even smaller pieces. Physics is an incredibly exciting subject. So it's a bit lame to say that physics is a study of physical things. So more precisely, we say that physics is a study of mass, energy, and their interaction. As I mentioned earlier, everything in the universe is mass or energy. Mass is anything, that is solid. For example, this laptop, this cell phone, the air around us, anything you can touch and push around has mass. Energy, for example, is like light or like sound. These are things that you can't touch, you can't push around, but they're also there in the universe. And often mass and energy interact with each other. For example, if you put an ice cube out in the sun, it's going to melt. That's because the light energy gets absorbed by the ice cube and it melts. So physics is all about mass and energy and their interaction. So we've learned that in physics you study mass and you study energy. But in physics you need to have something that is called a quantity. You need to be able to measure stuff to be able to do physics. And as mentioned earlier, we only study physical things in physics, so we study physical quantities in physics. What are physical quantities? A quantity is anything you can actually measure, that you can put a number on. So for example, time, 2 seconds, 1 hour, 1 million years. These are all things you can put a number on and you can objectively measure. So this is a physical quantity. Another one, for example, is length. You can take a ruler and you can measure from hair to hair and you can put a number on that. You can say 3 centimeters, 5 centimeters, 1 kilometer, so on and so forth. Same thing with temperature, 2 degrees Kelvin, 5 degrees Celsius, it goes on and on. What would be an example of a quantity that is not physical? There are quantities that are not physical. For example, if I'm imagining like, I don't know, 5 unicorns in my head right now, there are 5 unicorns. It is a quantity. It is something that is being measured, but it's not something I can sense with my 5 senses. It's only in my mind, which is beyond my 5 senses. So that would be something that physics does not get into. Another, for example, non-physical quantity is like movie ratings. I decide that, the latest Avengers movie gets a 4 out of 5, and you decide that it gets a 1 out of 5. Shame on you if you do. But the point is that that would be a non-physical quantity. or for example, how happy I am. That's not something you can measure using your five senses. For that, you have to get a sense of someone's subjective emotions. And we don't really agree. For example, I might say that I'm happy on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe I'm 8 happy. You might think I'm 5 happy. So it's a subjective conversation. So physics tries not to get into that. We only deal with physical quantities.